I used to believe that being the good one was the right thing to do. I stayed quiet when I wanted to speak. I smiled when I was breaking inside. I forgave too quickly. I gave too much. I agreed just to keep the peace, even when it cost me pieces of myself. Somewhere along the way, I confused kindness with self-erasure. I thought that if I were nice enough, patient enough, soft enough, I would be loved. I would be safe. I would belong. But now, sitting here in the quiet of my later years, I only have one question. Who taught me that to be worthy of love, I must disappear? If you've ever felt tired of always being the one who holds it all together, let this video be your breath, a moment of truth, a mirror that tells you you don't have to carry it anymore. I don't remember when it started. Maybe it was the first time I took the blame for something I didn't do, just to protect someone else from getting hurt. Maybe it was when I saw how happy people were when I said yes, even when everything inside me wanted to say no. I spent years saying, it's okay, even when it wasn't. I'm fine, even when I was falling apart. In love, I stepped back. In work, I took less. In friendships, I never asked for more. Because somewhere, somehow, I believe that good people don't complain. Good people don't take up space. Good people don't need too much. But no one tells you that being the good one can be the loneliest role you'll ever play. Not because people don't love you, but because they love the version of you that's always available. Always agreeable, never angry, never hurting, never honest. And one day you wake up exhausted, not from doing too much, but from never being allowed to just be. I used to think goodness was about how much I could endure, but now I see it's about how deeply I can honor myself. There's a quiet kind of pain that comes from always saying yes. It doesn't scream, it doesn't bleed, it doesn't leave scars you can see, but it slowly empties you one nod at a time, one favor at a time, one moment of silence when you wanted to scream. I used to say yes even when my body begged for rest. Yes to the late-night phone calls. Yes to the extra work. Yes to the plans I didn't want to attend. Yes to forgiving too soon. Yes to shrinking my needs so others could stretch theirs freely. I thought that being easy to love meant being easy to access. So I made myself available, emotionally, physically, mentally, until there was no version of me that hadn't been touched by someone else's expectations. But here's what no one tells you. Every yes you whisper to the world becomes a no. You whisper to yourself, no to your own rest, no to your boundaries, no to your peace. And people, they learn that you'll always say yes, that you'll pick up the slack, that you'll swallow your words, that your silence is cheaper than their discomfort. So they stop asking if you're okay. They stop checking in. They just assume you're fine, you always are. But I wasn't fine. I was tired. I was stretched thin. I was carrying too many yeses that never truly belonged to me. It took me years, decades, even to realize that boundaries are not betrayals, that protecting my energy isn't selfish, that no is a complete sentence. Now I say yes more carefully, not because I'm colder, but because I'm finally warm enough to myself to say, this matters. I matter. There's a moment you realize you've become the one everyone runs to, but never the one anyone stays for. You listen, you hold space, you nod through their chaos, their heartbreaks, their messes, and when they feel better, they leave. You're left there, with their weight in your chest, their anger in your body, their stories circling your mind like ghosts that refuse to rest. They say, you're such a good listener. You're always there for me. And somehow, that starts to sound like a life sentence. Like your value is tied to how much emotional garbage you can absorb without flinching. And the worst part, you start to feel guilty for needing anything in return. You don't want to be a burden. You don't want to interrupt. So you become the quiet one in the corner, the strong friend who never asks, the caretaker who never crumbles. But being strong all the time isn't strength. It's loneliness in disguise. It's the kind of silence that grows heavy. It's the ache of being invisible in your own pain. I remember once I tried to open up. I said, "I've been feeling off lately," and the reply I got, "Oh no, don't say that. You're always the strong one. I need you to be okay." So I tucked it back in, swallowed the words like bitter pills, and I smiled. Again. But now I know holding everyone else doesn't mean you're not allowed to be held. Being kind doesn't mean being used. Being available doesn't mean being disposable. These days, I ask myself one simple thing: does this connection nourish me too? Because love, real love, doesn't drain, it refills. And being the good one shouldn't cost you your own voice. Silence can be soft, but it can also be sharp. Especially when it's the kind of silence you choose because speaking up would make someone else uncomfortable. I've silenced myself more times than I can count. I didn't speak when I was hurt. I didn't ask for more when I needed it. I didn't say this isn't fair when it clearly wasn't. And over time, that silence became a language my body learned too well. It turned into headaches, into tension in my chest, into tears I cried in the shower so no one would hear. I convinced myself that speaking up was selfish, that rocking the boat meant being ungrateful, that asking for something meant I was too much. So I praised myself for being low maintenance, easygoing, flexible. But in truth, I was just afraid that if I showed my real feelings, I'd be rejected, abandoned, or worst of all, told I was wrong for feeling them. And when you live like that long enough, you begin to disappear from your own life. You smile in rooms you don't belong in. You agree with things you secretly resent. You nod when every part of you is screaming. You lose yourself not in one moment, but in 1,000 tiny moments of silence you thought were harmless. But now, I've learned something else. Your voice is not a weapon. It's a bridge to your needs, to your truth, to your peace. So now I speak. I speak even if my voice shakes, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Because for the first time in my life, I'm finally more loyal to my inner peace than to anyone's opinion of me. There's a moment quiet, heavy when you finally understand. No one is coming to save you. Not the people you bent backwards for. Not the ones you never said no to. Not the ones who promised to always be there. I used to believe that if I kept giving, someone would notice. That if I kept being good, kind, generous, someone would turn around, reach back, and say, "You've done enough, let me carry you now." But they didn't. And maybe they never knew how much I was carrying in the first place. Because I hid it well, behind my smile and behind the "I got it," behind the endless, quiet strength that looked like peace but was really just exhaustion in a pretty disguise. I used to wait for someone to ask how I was, to offer help without being needed, to see the cracks I tried so hard to hide. But people don't often notice what they've come to expect from you. If you're always the giver, they forget to give. If you're always strong, they forget to ask if you're okay. If you never fall apart, they assume you never need putting back together. And at some point, the waiting turns to bitterness, the longing turns to silence, and the good one becomes the ghost in the room, present, helpful, smiling, but slowly vanishing from the inside out. That was the day I stopped waiting, stopped hoping for someone else to rescue me, because I realized I was the only one who knew the full weight of what I was carrying, and that meant I was the only one who could set it down. So I did. I stopped apologizing for needing rest. I stopped shrinking to fit into spaces that never saw me. I stopped hoping that being good would finally be enough to earn care. Now I care for me, not because I stopped loving others, but because I finally started loving myself. And that changed everything. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no fireworks, no dramatic scene, no applause when it begins. Just a quiet, unfamiliar moment where instead of saying yes out of habit, you pause, you breathe, and you say, "I need something different this time." The first time I chose myself, I felt guilty, as if I had broken an invisible rule, as if prioritizing my own heart meant betraying everyone else's. But then I realized choosing myself was never a betrayal. It was a reunion, a homecoming, a return to the person I left behind in the name of being agreeable. I started small, saying no without explaining, canceling plans that drained me, setting boundaries that felt like walls at first, but became windows to my peace. People didn't always understand. Some pulled away, some were disappointed, some called it selfishness. But the truth is, the only people who get upset when you grow are the ones who benefited from your shrinking. I used to believe that love meant sacrifice, that to be worthy, I had to bend. Now, I understand love that costs you yourself is too expensive. Choosing yourself doesn't mean closing your heart. It means including yourself in the circle of your own compassion. It means no longer being the one exception to your kindness. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I see you. I'm not abandoning you anymore. These days, my yes is sacred. My time is intentional. My peace is non-negotiable. And in choosing myself, I finally created space for the kind of love that sees me, holds me, and never asks me to disappear again. No one talks about the grief that comes with healing. The grief of realizing how long you ignored your own needs, how many times you silenced your voice, how often you showed up for others while quietly disappearing from yourself. I used to look back with shame at all the times I let myself be mistreated, at all the things I didn't say, at how much I tolerated just to keep the peace. I'd ask myself, why didn't I speak up sooner? Why did I let it go on that long? Why was I so afraid to choose me? But shame is a heavy chain, and healing is not about dragging your past behind you. It's about learning how to set it down gently, honestly, with compassion. Because the truth is, you did what you could with what you knew in the version of you that was still surviving. You weren't weak. You were protecting something. Maybe your safety, maybe the relationship, maybe just the illusion of being good. And now that you know more, you can do more, but not by punishing the you who didn't. So I started whispering the words I needed someone else to say to me years ago. I forgive you. I forgive you for staying too long, for saying yes when you meant no, for needing love so badly that you gave away your peace to get it. I forgive the version of me that was just trying to be good, even if it meant being invisible. That forgiveness, it didn't come all at once. It came in moments, in deep breaths, in journal pages, in long walks alone where I cried not because I was broken, but because I was finally being honest. And every time I forgave myself, I made room for something new: self-respect, clarity, freedom. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see someone who was weak. I see someone who survived, who endured, who kept loving even when she forgot to love herself. And that deserves grace, not guilt. There was a time I believed I had to earn everything: love, belonging, even rest. As if existing on its own wasn't enough. I over-explained, over-apologized, over-functioned, because somewhere along the way, I was taught that simply being wasn't worthy of acceptance. So I worked hard to be good, to be kind, to be easy, to be useful. Always useful. I measured my worth in how much I could give, how little I could need, how small I could shrink without being noticed. But here's what I know now. You don't have to earn your place in the world. You already belong, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Because you breathe, because your heart beats, because you carry stories no one else can tell. Being the good one was never your job. You don't exist to keep everyone comfortable. You don't exist to be agreeable, likable, or convenient. You exist to be whole, to feel, to take up space, to live a life that feels like home, not a performance. And if no one has told you this lately, let me be the one who does. You are allowed to stop trying. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to just be, not because you earned it, but because you've always deserved it. I'm done being the good one, but I'm not bitter. I'm just free. And in that freedom, I found something even better than being liked. I found peace.